What's up everybody, this is Yair and today we are going to draw Ultra Instinct Gogeta. Okay, so today we are going to draw Ultra Instinct Gogeta. If you'll check the description box, you can see all the materials I'm using for this tutorial with Amazon product links. Before we start, make sure to subscribe to my channel. I upload new tutorials every weekend and I got more than 100 tutorials available on this channel. So let's get started. As you can see, I drew a perfect square. Each side is 4 centimeters, but you can draw it in any size you want to. Just make sure to use a suitable paper size. We are going to start by drawing the shape of his face. This is gonna be a frontal pose. Next, we'll draw his sideburns and the hairline. Next, we'll draw the wrinkles between the eyes. Another line right there. And then we'll draw the eyebrow all the way until it's parallel to the sideburn. And as you can see, it's a lot thicker towards the edge. We'll add some hairs right there. And then to draw the eye, we'll simply use 3 lines, 2 diagonals and a curve on the bottom. Next, we'll draw the iris and the pupil at the center but slightly to the left. We'll draw the bump above his eye. And then some lines to create the cheek marks. Awesome, and we'll do the same process for the left side. If you want, you can use a ruler to help you maintain the right proportions. And now we can draw the nose. So to do that, I'm gonna use 5 lines. And to draw the mouth, we'll simply draw the letter M squeezed up with a very tiny gap from the nose. We'll add some lines to indicate the bottom lip. And I'll do some adjustments to the face, just drawing it a bit more narrow. Awesome, next we'll draw the ear. We'll start by drawing the shape of the ear, and only then we'll add all the details. And of course, we'll do the same for the left side, using the guidelines to help us keep the right symmetry. Awesome, next we'll draw the neck by simply drawing 2 curved lines. And now we can move on to the hair. So first we'll start with his 1 spike on the front, covering the eye. And we'll give it some details by adding some lines in the direction of the shape. And now we can move on to draw the rest of the spikes. So I'm gonna start by drawing 3 spikes on each side. And we are not going to draw them exactly the same. We want 1 spike to go down, another one to go up. And we'll not draw it in the same size. That's because of the Ultra Instinct form. Now we'll use this guideline. And we'll add the rest of the spikes. And just like before, we'll add details by drawing some random lines in the direction of the hair. Awesome, next we'll draw the neck muscles and the trachea. And now I'm gonna use some guidelines to help us draw his torso. So we'll start by drawing 2 lines all the way down. That will be our vest. Then I'm gonna draw 1 more line in the center of the torso, and then the shape of his shoulders. Awesome, so now that I got the overall shape, I can continue by adding all the details. So we'll start with the chest, then the abs right below. Next we'll add the muscles for the arm, so we'll start with the shoulder, then the bicep and the tricep. And now we can focus on the vest. So I'm gonna draw those fluffy thingies on the vest. We'll get rid of all the unnecessary guidelines and we'll add some details. Awesome, and I'm gonna take the vest a bit more wide just to make it seem like it's blowing in the wind. And I forgot to add 2 lines for the neck muscles, so do that right now. And now we'll do the same process for the right side. So again, I'm starting with those fluffy thingies of the vest. Then I'm gonna add the bicep, the shoulder and the tricep. And now we'll add the details for the vest. And just like before, I'm gonna draw the vest a bit to the right, just to make it seem like it's blowing in the wind. Awesome, so we are done with the sketching process, and now we can move on to the inking process. So for that I'm gonna use a black pen that's 0.2, the size of the nib. And for the facial features I'm gonna use 0.05. That's a slightly smaller nib that will help me ink the face with much more accuracy. So for the inking process, what we want to do is rotate the page. We'll hold the pen with a firm grip right next to the tip and then simply go with our natural hand movement and just go all over the lines. You can do that by either pushing lines or pulling lines. Check for yourself what works for you best. Me personally, I like to mix the both of them. Just depends on the comfort. Awesome, so now that we are done with the inking process, we are going to get rid of all the lead using some erasers. I'm gonna use the notorious eraser, the charcoal eraser, and then I'll use the eraser stick for those stubborn areas. And like I always say, make sure to clean it very well because you don't want to smear it later on when we use the markers. Awesome, so now that it's clean, we can move on to the coloring process. For that I'm gonna use the Copic markers. Those are alcohol based markers that can blend very well. If you check your top left of the screen, you can see the exact number of Copic I'll be using. However, if you don't have Copic markers, you can use color pencils or HB and B pencils and do some shading. You don't necessarily need Copic markers. That being said, I'm gonna use the Copic markers and we'll start by coloring the skin parts. So we'll start with the hand. As you can see, I'm pushing and pulling lines in the direction of the shape. That's important. Next, I'm gonna use a darker tone for the shaded areas. For this drawing, the main light source will come from the right side, which means that the left side will appear darker. Next step, we'll be using an even darker tone for the darkest areas. And now we want to do some blending. So I'm gonna use the mid-tone to blend the darkest tone with the mid-tone, and we'll use the brightest tone to blend the brightest tone with the mid-tone. Now I'm actually gonna use an even darker tone, that will be our darkest color, E17. And then we'll do some more blending. As you can see, it's a matter of layers on top of layers until you get the result you want to. So this is the result we want to get, and we'll do the same process for the chest, the abs, the neck muscles. So again, I'm starting with the brightest tone, coloring in the direction of the shape. Then I'm moving on to the mid-tone, adding all the shaded areas. After that, we'll use the darkest tone for the darkest areas. I'm actually gonna use an even darker tone than that. And then we'll do some blending. Now I know some of you like the solid look, so you don't necessarily need to do the blending, just depends on the result you want to get. If you want it to look exactly how it looks on the show, then avoid the blending part. If you want to make it look a bit more 3D, do some blending. Depends on what you want. And a quick tip for you guys, if you by accident colored outside of the line, you can use the colorless blender, that's number 0, and what you basically do is soak some of that ink off the paper, just like that. So we're going to do the same process for his left arm. And now we can move on to the face. So we're going to do the same process, covering this entire area, coloring in the direction of the shape, but as you can see I left some blank spots on the bump above his eye and on the cheek. Next we'll use the mid-tone. As you can see I'm leaving some areas, the same areas I told you about, the bump above the eye and the cheek, because they stick out more and get more light. Next I'm gonna add one more layer with the brightest tone. And then one more layer with the mid-tone. As you can see I'm doing that to get more contrast, to get more saturation. Next step will be using the darkest tone for the most shaded areas. As you can see I'm doing it with a minimum use. And then we'll use the mid-tone again to add some more shade right there. Awesome, so we are done with the skin and now we can move on to the eyes. For that I'm gonna use some gray colors. We'll start with the brightest one, C1, and I'm gonna leave some blank area to create a nice highlight on the far right. Then we'll use the mid-tone to add some shade and a darker tone than that for the edge. We'll do some blending just like before. And now we'll move on to color the vest. So we'll start with those pads on the vest. I'm gonna start with the brightest color, coloring with the direction of the shape, and as you can see I'm leaving some blank areas again because of the highlight. Then we'll use Y04, that's a slightly darker tone. After that we'll use a mustard tone, that's Y26. We'll do some blending with the mid-tone. And then we'll use the darkest tone. I'm gonna do some blending with Y26 and then add more contrast with Y28. Awesome, and we'll do the same process for the rest of the pads. Next we'll use some gray colors for the fabric. I'm gonna start with C3. Then we'll use C5, a darker tone than that. After that we'll use C7. And then we'll do some blending. Now I want to get an even darker tone, so we'll use a black color. And we'll do the same process for the right side. Awesome, and now we can focus on the hair. For that I'm gonna use some gray purple tones. We'll start with the eyebrows using the mid-tone. Then we'll use a brighter tone than that just to get a nice highlight. And then we'll use the mid-tone again. Next I'm gonna demonstrate how to color one spike of hair. So we'll start with the brightest color, that's BV20. As you can see I'm leaving some blank areas. Next we'll use BV25 and then the darkest tone, which will be BV29 with a minimum use. Now we'll do some blending with the brightest color, and this is the result we want to get. So I'm gonna do the same process for the rest of the spikes. Awesome, and now I'm gonna use the colorless blender and I'm gonna go over all those blank areas just to get a nice transition between the colors. Next, we are going to use C1 to add some shade right below the eyebrows. And I think I'm gonna add some more contrast to those eyes. I'm gonna add some more layers to this spike right there. And we are done! Everybody, this is how you draw Ultra Instinct Gogeta. I hope you guys and girls enjoyed this tutorial. Maybe we can see this character come to life in the next Dragon Ball Super episodes. I certainly would love to see that happen, but please let me know what you think about this drawing. Comment down below. Also make sure to subscribe to my channel, I upload new videos every weekend. And be kind enough to hit the like button to support my work. That's it, thanks a lot for watching, keep being awesome as always, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace.
And Vanessa, you holding down the family the way that you have, I can't, there's no way that I can thank you enough for that. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And what can I say? Mamba out.